Well, if this red button is to be believed, I believe you are live on a Friday night after saying that from last week, or for all those that turned into Key WAL, that we would actually show up on a Friday night. And lo and behold, here we are. Hey, everyone, you better. This is not your regular scheduled program that usually happens on the show. We have taken over your airwaves to give you Key WAL, our little fun little show. Basically taking the discarded bits and having fun with all your favorite personalities on the Wall Network to, give something else. So I bring you, I try to do something else here. This is my time to play and allow me to do something outside of the usual politics usually get from this network to talk about, culture, gaming, and other things like this. And this brilliant series that we've been working on too is more of talking about the media that helped, just helped shape me and shaped us in some of your opinions. So, I enjoy people talking about it that I've met in certain comment sections, like, hey, this is different media that I like. But you remember who the heck I am? Hi, my name's Harry. I am one of the co-hosts on the Chris Spangle Show, and full-time host. I have my own hosting gigs here of the Key WAL show. So I'm trust me, if you're shocked we're here, I'm definitely shocked we're here, and we freaking made it. But I am not alone. I don't go alone because we are stronger together than we are apart. So I bring my teammates. So let's go ahead and introduce the team that I have brought along on this magical journey of ours. So announcing everyone and introducing everyone in order seniority, we're going to go with Reinhold. Reinhold, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's been I'm glad to be here. It's been a very, very long, interesting, fun, terrible day, all at the same time. So glad to kind of sit back and relax a little bit and actually just chat instead of all the stuff I've been going through.
Yeah. Let that drift away. Let's come here. Let's talk about different media that makes us happy and shaped us. Let's just push that outside. Push all of that on the other side of there. Let's do something else. That's also beauty. That's another reason, help kept motivation on the show. And more person doesn't know about that more than anyone other than Vincent. Why don't you go say hi?
Hi, Vincent.
All right, sir. That joke right there. Old.
Exactly. I mean,
very careful with an antique joke.
Almost older than me.
Yeah.
As you said, it's like seniority, so I have to make myself look older.
Okay.
There when it was invented.
Yeah. I can almost believe that. Reinhold picks up one of the first phone. Say hello. Oh, it had been really funny then. It's now.
Watson, come here. I was there.
Yeah, but come on, guys. We're trained professionals now with better jokes. So I expect better jokes.
Trained professionals?
We are trained professionals.
At what?
I've gave you hours of training.
At what?
This
pocket healing.
If you look at your NDA, you're not supposed to tell people that. Okay.
Whoa! I signed it. When did I sign an NDA? That's news to me.
Well, this is good. Great. I learned from producer Paul. You just use carbon paper once you go sign your
social contract.
Yeah. No, carbon paper. He went to go sign his bill. I put the contract right there. Carbon paper. Get your signature. Binding, sir. Binding. It's okay. It expires in a year, so valid contract. If everyone wondering what I'm drinking, it is not whiskey. It's an amazing energy drink called Club Mate. Drinking Club Mate. Which, if I known, I don't know if I could get stuff out of Europe anytime soon. I probably bought more than 4 cases of the stuff. But so
let's not go to that well.
Anyways, yeah, like I said, push that on the outside. Oh man. So yeah, we're trying to talk about happy things and things that are going around. But but it's so if you see me drinking it, it's an energy drink. And it's the taste is like a mate tea. If I'm honest, it tastes awful, but you will get used to it.
That's
That's it.
reassuring.
I won't get used to it because I won't drink it. So that's the prerequisite of actually getting used to it, is to actually drink it. And since I cannot stand the taste of tea, I have a feeling I won't be liking that.
Like,
Yeah, you will not. I honestly haven't found anyone who like picked it up, drank it, and go like, "This tastes great." They're, "Oh, this is awful." I'm like, "Here you go. Keep going. Keep drinking. You know, do you want to go to sleep? No, then keep drinking." It's good with like a lemonade and some like alcohol or lemons and stuff like that. Like kind of like a Moscow Mule. You know, it gets kind of massive the mate taste, but
here's something I noticed. I was kind of watching TikTok lately, and there's some people on there who are doing viewer suggestions on drinks. I know it's I'm hip with the people, with the jizz, what's going on in the day, you know, the kids these days.
Hello, fellow children.
So go on. You were talking about.
No, but they have this thing where, you know, people say, okay, put these two things together and it tastes like this. And one of the things I saw was that if you put these two drinks together, it tastes like a Tootsie Roll. And it was half Kahlua, half orange juice. I was like, I have to try that. So I did it. Half orange juice, half Kahlua. Tasted like a Tootsie Roll. 100%. It was awesome.
So those kids may have something about that thing. So.
They might have a point.
They may have a point. May possibly have a point. But I doubt it.
But think at my age, I would have figured all of this stuff out. But you know, news discoveries every day, right? So got to keep on keep up with it.
Sure. Yeah.
Keep tuned in.
Yeah. All right. So to remind everyone, like some of the topic that we want to bring, the main topic at hand is let's see if I could. So like I was trying to figure out how to get this really set up correctly on this thing, but apparently, like in order to get StreamYard, right, to see the slides in Google, I have to give StreamYard permission to access my Google Drive, or I have to share my whole screen, which ticks me off the whole end because I thought the point of that I did in Google Slides, so it would just do it in there, but no, I have to give the permission. I don't want to do that, not because like, you know, like, oh, I've got something sensitive in my Google Drive. It's just more of I don't trust the other users of the WAL network in my Google Drive. You know who you are, Hody. mostly Hody. Mostly. Yeah, let's just adjust our mics with non-muted. Let's just do that.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Sorry, man. Forgot to mute. Sorry.
Let's just do that. That's fine. That's no. The viewers love that. I'm seeing from the comments that everyone loved you adjusting your mic just now.
It was the best.
It was soft and like ASMR, right?
No, yeah,
was that what
yeah, you could say that. All right, so go ahead, share my screen. Get the ball rolling on the topic at hand. All right, yeah. Woo, look, we got professional slides. We're professional. This is a professional podcast. Okay, all right.
The most professional.
Okay, all right. So, welcome to Low-Key WAL, on the topic of the media that has shaped us. So, to catch all those up that did not watch the previous episode, we are going over stupid piece of junk. I hate this thing. I really do. I need a clicker.
The clicker. I have a clicker.
See, no, my problem is I went with Google Slides instead of PowerPoint. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Because you thought you could actually use Google Slides with
right.
StreamYard.
But nah, I'm done. I'm out of Google Slides, going back to PowerPoint. Before someone in the comments said, why don't you just use Libre Slides? No. I understand the point of it. I get it. I've used it. I can get it done by it, but I don't want to. I pay for Office 365. I'm going to use this. But I understand it, and I'm glad that you use that. I choose not to. But I understand. But I like having. But you get the choice. You can use whatever you want and let people enjoy what they want. Randall's like, sit there like, yeah, finally. So, anyways, all right. So this beautiful title that Vincent did come up with, "Rascal Doesn't Dream of the Past." If you want to give a precursor, where does that come from? Or do you want to just leave it, or just see if anyone discovers what the heck that came from?
No, I mean it's fine. There is a series of light novels that turn into an anime called Rascal Doesn't Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. I'll probably talk more about that when we do honorable mentions. But the naming convention for all the light novels is Rascal Doesn't blank 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 blank.
Yeah, so doesn't dream in the past, and these are our 3x3s of media that helps shaped us. So you've got mine here at the left-hand corner of the screen. It's with its very diverse genre of anime that's on there, very diverse, jumping genres, completely different writers sometimes.
Totally.
It's completely different.
So when does Saber come in?
Anyway, so we get to Vincent's here in the middle. I should probably do it this way. Okay. There we go. Yeah. So it lines up with that, so you guys know, like there. So you've got Vincent's, who's probably almost all the same all the way through.
Totally.
They're completely all the same.
Totally.
Yeah, they all look the same to me. And then you got Reinhold's. Yeah, you have Reinhold's. Reinhold, do you want to talk about your list?
My list is strikingly devoid of anything animated. So therefore it makes it infinitely better. So just enjoy that there's some break to what's going to be discussed. It's not all about the same thing.
Mine's not going to be all about the same thing. I just want to point that out. Mine's a very diverse, different genre. And at least mine all came from the same country, Reinhold. Okay. All right. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
I was trying to say, like,
country from.
I was going to say, like, mine was made in mine is made where they make good cars. Okay, that's where mine's from. Okay, all right. Not that terrible country. They make terrible cars. You know what countries those are. I think Germany. Germany makes terrible cars, but apparently they make great trucks. The Porsche Cayenne is actually turning out to be a very capable SUV. I won't say that for that.
About English cars, though.
It's some of the worst on the planet. Never, ever, ever buy a car that says made in England. Don't ever buy that. Just turn it around. Unless it's a hobby project of pain that you like, you want pain, you have more money than sense, get a British car.
Driving in a three-wheeled vehicle that opens the door from the front. That's a German car. Whenever I said Porsche has made a good truck, which just Porsche made good tractors. Make good tractors. So
I didn't know you were talking about Initial D today.
We're not talking about Initial D. I think the main topic of discussion on my thing to talk about the first thing. Drum roll, please. We are getting with the start of the show with the first thing we're going to bring up. The thing that was the start of it all, the start of the media that shaped me a whole bunch in my youth. Has to be Mobile Suit Gundam. If I actually would play the noise, the sound that would come up in each episode, like the title song, but I really feel that would copyright strike the crap out of us the moment that would play. Streams down.
Everything's gone. Everything's gone.
Everything's struck down. So I think we'll barely barely sneak by with these images. Okay. I'm sure there's some lawyer somewhere like, I think this is a copyright strike. Let's just take them down. Let's just do it real quick to preemptively. They look like they were going to do noises.
Well, we didn't show any clips, so we just have still frames.
Right, still frames. and they were, having commentary over it. We're talking about
Right.
So we have fair use. We're being transformative on our side, but it is Japan.
I mean, yeah.
I think when AMVs were coming out, I think one of the lawyers were saying like, "So double copyrighted? Like what? You stole the music and our anime?" Like, hold on, no.
Excellent.
double,
Give us all the W's.
double illegal. I'm like, it's not double. You can't double illegal. Reinhold's like, what's an AMV? An AMV stands for anime music video.
It's very popular.
You're back talking about cars again.
It's very popular at the start of the internet.
See, that's right.
Yeah. The start of the internet. It was a big thing on the internet for me was like the AMVs, because like it was also a good way to like, to me, was like to get trailer for different animes or music. People would like put them or try. Also, some of people would also, the genre also got developed for just people just trying to make different stories that went with music, and then using clips from anime to tell a different story. So it was beautiful. Some of the AMV artists out there that did this, which genre went nowhere.
And fiction.
But welcome to Mobile Suit Gundam. Great anime. It is a wartime space opera that has, so space war opera that has which everything a young kid could want. Giant freaking robots. Okay, giant freaking robots that are shooting each other, right? And things are happening. So the synopsis, like, it's the year Universal Central 079. Space colonies have declared war on Earth Federation under the guidance of the Principality of Zeon. In one of these colonies, the Earth Federation is storing and testing a new piloted robot for the use of battle against the Principality of Zeon. The experimental RX-78 Gundam mobile suit is forced into combat with civilian pilot and untested crew before it can be transported to the Federation's headquarters on Earth. With a few resources available against the Zeon's brightest and best, will they be able to escape, let alone deliver the RX-78 to Earth? So that's like the beginning. This is the beginning synopsis of Mobile Suit Gundam. So the idea, you first introduced into this world with this idea that this peaceful colony, right, that just gets attacked by the Principality of Zeon because they also want this new weapon. What is this new weapon that they're testing there? And they're doing, which as a kid, right, you kind of glaze over a lot of things that are happening on it because this is the fact that, oh no, they're being attacked, the bad guys are attacking, and then as you get to an adult, like, did this Earth Force just do its weapon testing and everything else underneath people where people are living? They have school children and they're going to do it's just when I talked about like how this single should be because of the ideas, like one that it shows like like the Earth Federation, like, which as a kid when you're watching it's like they're the good guys. They have to be the good guys because they're fighting the bad guys. Zeon, the Principality of Zeon, struck first in this episode when you first introduced everyone. So Zeon bad, Earth Federation good. Is only through later episodes, more of the shows, which we will talk about. Like when we talk about that, is you realize that there are sides of gray to all this. So the two different sides, because I keep bringing it up. So the Earth Federation and the Principality of Zeon. On the Earth Federation's Space Force, or EFSF, is when I talked about that pilot I was picked up, that was Amuro Ray. The other person on the other side of Zeon, the main character show there, Char Aznavour, aka the Red Comet. So you're introduced to this guy. He's wearing all red. He's got a helmet on, and he's battling Amuro out in outer space. Like I said, it's freaking space robots, okay? And they're shooting each other. It's freaking awesome. And so you got these two sides battling each other. And the thing that really shaped me, that really formulated me to basically this genre, this anime, is the simple fact that it had layers to it. Char Aznavour was first brought on, is seen as this villain, right? The evil of the evil, and he's an ace pilot on the Principality Zeon. But Hold on, I should hit the spoiler banner now. Should I start getting the
Yeah. Just go ahead and drop it because you're about to start like getting into lore. But summarize your point before you start dropping like plot spoilers.
plus like the spoiler banner up. Well, some of that comes from that because Armro starts up as this like is basically from your point of view and everyone's kid's point of view on the white base with Captain Bright is a lot of people are pulled into the front lines of this war that wasn't really ready for it, and they're not really geared for it. The crew of the white base are civilians from that first colony that was attacked, and everyone's just basically the colony's going down. It's getting exploded, so everyone's just getting on this military vessel and getting the heck out of the space colony, and they're just put into this drastic situation, and everyone just start taking over roles. Someone is just brand new, they're in high school, they have there's like they kind of understand how the piloting works, so they start taking over like piloting functions of different mobile suits or the ship itself, cooking meals, even kids on board on this ship. And it's watching people step up in their time of need of this wartime action happening on it, and them all trying to basically just rationalize what the heck is going on around them and figuring out what's going on, and also trying to showcase the horrors of war, especially when people are ready for it. Because Captain Bright really wasn't a captain when this whole started out. He was a low lieutenant, and he wasn't really like a frontline captain, especially like he was just but he had the most military experience of everyone, so he was quickly promoted. Boom, okay, you're captain of this ship. Why? Highest ranking officer here. Good luck.
We have no choice but to make you captain.
Yeah. And everyone you're commanding, some of them are civilians. The ace pilot of this guy that you're trying to figure out he's a child too. Okay, all right, that's fine. Who's my second in command? Okay, someone who all right, so it's like I said, it's so this ragtag crew of like mixed civilian, basically fighting like these hard-nosed like combat veterans, like hard-boiled Xeon forces. But like I said, to me it always showcased the different sides of the battle, like the moves of different shows that could happen. I think because I only watched it, was really young when I started watching this, but from growing up and watching the Batman the Animated Series, I was it helped make me ready for like to me like ready for like adult themes of like love, loss, like probably should get the spoiler banner going. I'm gonna try not. I don't know. Technically, can you really spoil a show that has been over for 20 plus years? Come on.
I mean,
come on.
I would say
trying to get people to watch it too.
Yeah.
I do want people to watch it.
Yeah. So
like I want people to watch this show. Watch it. But like the thing is, like everything like has like a different meaning of it. So like you have different characters, right, that have different motivations while they're in this wartime efforts. Like they may be on a surface, you get introduced to different characters or that has different motivations to it. They're on this side, but not because they actually believe in the Principality Xeon's fight for independence, getting independence from their federation. They want to do something else, or they actually believe in the Xeon's independence, but not the way that the ruling family has twisted that. And that's the other thing you notice is that the soldiers on the front line, you find out, have this idea of what their independence want and what they really want. And then you get also introduced to the ruling elites of Xeon, and they've taken that and twisted it to their own gain, because they're just like, no, we're going to push past this. No, not only are we going for independence and declaring war on their federation, we want to battle them back and push them to Earth and then destroy the Earth. Okay. They have they've twisted what people want, because like there's relations like, no, we just want to exist in outer space and have our own government and govern ourselves, which, like I said, to the ideals of Xeon, when you look at it like, man, I don't know, man, I'd probably be a Xeon forces because they're a federation. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Okay, kind of sucks. They kind of suck. Okay. But like I said, when you watch this and present it as the bad guys. Now, I am sure I'm talking about this show and Reinhold's going like, how does these bipedal robots in outer space start shooting things? How does this even work? Because wouldn't long range weapons and ships start taking things? Look at the Reynolds is like, yeah, Harry, if a Navy ship would just, your bipedal robot would just go down. Well, you're wrong, not in this world, because we have Minovsky particles. What the fuck's a Minovsky particle? Right?
It's called plot armor.
Anyways, the main use of Minovsky particles was combat and communication. So when the Minovsky particles basically, how can I put it in terms that are directly to the point with the time that I have? It's freaking magic. It's just magic. It's just magic. Minovsky particles are used like, this is how the a lot of weapons work, or like if they can't come out, like, well, because Minovsky particles developed as in the UC-49, the Minovsky nuclear reactor generators. So they made a nuclear reactor that couldn't push out radiation. It was a clean nuclear fission. It's fantasy, Rhino. Give it some leeway, okay? And the main reason why they went out to outer space is to get this thing called helium-3. It's fantasy, Reinhold. Helium-3 allowed them to make, like these reactor engines. And
looking at the chemical equations and trying to map it out in my head there.
And it was like some of these things over there. It's fantasy, Reinhold.
He's looking at this equation. It's like, this equation is ass. He's like, this equation does not work. They fucked up everything here. I thought you said this was interesting.
It is interesting. It's very interesting. So this thing was allowed to allow the giant robots, because not only the Minovsky particles was a byproduct of the nuclear reactors of everything that was going off, it would also disrupt communications and long range sensors and radars. So your long distance like missiles or combat or communications stopped working. Just it doesn't work. Wouldn't work because the Minovsky particles and everyone was using these Minovsky particles. So everything kind of became kind of old techie. So combat had to be, close range, and you had to see people with close range like cameras and see everything. Because the Minovsky particles, if you couldn't see it, long range sensors don't work because of a Minovsky particle density was, or plot.
For gaming people, they added a fog of war, literally.
Yeah, literally a fog of war. And if the Minovsky particles got dense enough, you couldn't see anything. So yeah. You get this whole that's what the Magic MacGuffin design thing that helped, push everything back. So it allows because I'm sure people like Rhino would like, yeah, if you were walking around with a gigantic robot Gundam thing walking around the city, like, just shoot it with a long range missile. It'll go down quickly. It'd be pointless. It's a gigantic, hot, moving target, slowly moving armored target, that's making, and that rattles the ground, which they do, which we'll showcase in the other ones, like especially 8th Mobile Suit Team, is that one of the things they use to, detect mobile suit troop movement is, sensing the ground, like ground movement, like the ground is vibrating with these gigantic robots moving around, so. Now Mobile Suit Gundam is their first ventured into, and they wanted this really realistic anime of the story to go out. So some took some liberties and they backfilled and put things in there to help things out. So people like Ryan can sit back and enjoy this show.
He's like, sure, whatever you say.
The other cool thing with Mobile Suit Gundam is also put this thing in, which it's a diss that I've sent at Rhino several different times in the chat room, is the idea of a new type. So this new type of individuals, so that humanity, once they've got amongst the stars and away from planet Earth, they begin to change and become this thing where they're called new types. And that idea, that expression to me, has always stuck with me. The idea that if humanity can progress and get past itself to be able to be more empathetic to each other, to be able to basically feel and understand and other each other, we don't have to fight. We can communicate with each other and not have these battles that are currently happening. It's I know it's the idealistic me when I was watching as a kid, the idea that people could just be empathetic and stop wars or just communicate with the other side. And in the show, they have like this thing like where they would have communications using their new type abilities with other people on the battlefield. Like this is what's happening, and like several different ones, like when these the energy in the field of because so many people started dying, they would use this energy to also communicate to help stop wars or even help save the earth a couple of times. So yeah. So all right. So, what are you guys' questions about Mobile Suit Gundam? You have any questions?
It's more of what exactly about it is the thing that shaped your existence.
Like I said, it's the themes and the jumps from it. It's the idea that nothing is like always what it seems. Like there's possibly something else going on, or you can't really take some things at face value. Like the Earth Federation forces, like I said, like were presented as the good guys, but as you later learn on and you move on through the series, there's like no, they're just men. They all have their other agendas, and they're even at the like when you get to the end, like the end of Mobile Suit Gundam, like they realize the military might that they had when they finally beat Zeon. They're so afraid of Armor Ray, they put him under armed guards. We can't trust you. We can't trust you. But I just fought your war. It's like, 16 years old now. He's just turned 16. The war's over. It's peacetime, and he should be able to travel the world. Nope. Oh no. No. Lock and key. Or put you up. But the Earth Federation also did, like I said, like terrible different things, like they classify everyone on white base as new types, as a way to keep and use the white base, because they really didn't believe in new types. They just classified them as that and then used them as bait for the Zeon troops to go after, while they pulled up a different roundabout different tactics to attack the Zeon forces. They just kept using them as bait. Oops, so that's the thing that Jake means, like knowing that other people might have different like motives, like
ulterior motives.
Someone probably has an ulterior motive, and nothing's, as some things aren't surface level. It's and then also like what Shura Aznable presented as a villain, like the ultimate villain, but he's just trying to he's not he may seem, and everyone talks about how he should be my rival, my nemesis, but he's just trying to get revenge for like what has happened to him, right? And to stop the twisting of the zombie family in Zeon of what they did, so people of Zeon can actually people in outer space can get the freedom and independence that they actually deserve and actually want. So, yeah. So
that's always interest to me in literature, fantasy.
Right on, you cut
We can't
out.
hear you. We can't hear you.
Can't hear me at all?
Yeah, you
back
were
now.
just, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I'll start again. That's something that always interests me in literature, especially in fiction, right? So it's the hero, it's the anti-hero or the villain who has motivations that are believable, that are human, that are understandable, that you can get behind why he is doing what he's doing, whether you might agree with it or not. There's still that aspect of it. And it's one thing I've been working on over the years trying to put together a story myself where you actually follow your protagonist all the way through the story, only to learn throughout the story that he's actually the villain. Right. And then how does that turn take at the end of the story? And you find out the villain that he is fighting is actually the hero that would normally be there. So that's always what's when somebody does a villain and they don't have motivations, they don't have any reasoning behind it. They're just caricatures of somebody bad. That never sat well with me, and it's never enjoyable. So.
Right. You want your villain to be a person too. And that's the big thing, is that every person is supposed to be the hero of their own story. And if your villain sees himself as the hero of his story, that means you have a much deeper conversation to have if that villain is actually right.
Yep. Yeah, because there's a lot of people in the show even viewed Char as the villain, but he didn't. No, by any means. He was like, no, I'm doing, and these are some things that he did was like, just trying to. I don't want to get spoiler. You want to get too far also ahead in the series because he also views the only way like peace can actually be attained if everyone becomes a new type. So how to get people to become new types? Get everyone off Earth. How to get everyone off Earth? Destroy the Earth. So he goes back on that plan of the zombies. Maybe the zombies were wrong. I've got another idea. They were wrong, but I'm going to be right. Do the same thing they're doing, but I'm going to be right about it. So like I said, it's that complex mix. And I also like this one because after after a lot of the later on in like the whole Mobile Suit series, you get a lot of more ornamental speeches and I think they take the opera angle when people kept calling them space operas, and they're like, fine, you're gonna call us that? Full throttle, let's go. Look at these speeches that we can do.
Here's this 20-minute soliloquy.
Oh yeah. Andrew, it was Andrew WK did a good speech from one of the speeches here at Mobile Suit Gundam. It was the Zabi funeral speech when they're rallying the troops after his brother died in battle, which they do believe it was the white base that shut them down, but what they don't know, Char set that motherfucker. They set him up to die. And they're trying to rally the troops with propaganda and everything else. Like, we've got to get them and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so, yeah. But, there's a great Andrew W.K. Doing the speech because, it almost makes you wish they put that in the dub. They just stop it. Like, we're just going to add this.
Put his version in.
Yeah, this is better. Yeah, the voice acting is great, but this one's so much better. I'll share it to the Discord.
Right.
I do it here, but Yeah. The evil overlords out on the internet usually hate that. I know. Yeah. It's fun to watch people jump in. How the heck are we streaming on a Friday night? I was like, I know. Look at us. We're here on a Friday night, just chatting, talking. Having fun. But yeah.
All right.
I'm
very interested to hear your other takes on the other Gundams that you have on your list. We'll get there.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. I'll get there.
That's what I'm wondering.
How they different, how they're different, and how your takes are going to be different.
Very different and very diverse. Okay, different genres. Okay, completely different. All right, very different.
So, do you want to sandwich the animes, sandwich Reinhold with anime, or do animes and then dessert with Reinhold?
Let's say I like the idea of sandwiching the anime, but no, we'll let Reinhold be the dessert. Everyone, let's just force everyone through all the anime, and then they can get Reinhold at the end.
All right,
look at Reinhold. I have to sit through all the anime. Yes, Reinhold.
Well, it's all right. They're making me suffer through this, so I can't just tune out at the end. And and they're saving at least the culturally significant portion of the podcast will be there for the end.
Whoa!
You
How
believe
dare
what you
you?
want to believe. We get it.
How dare you? All right, so the cultural existence of Shar Asnaval, right?
Oh my god.
See that helmet? See this helmet?
Yeah.
One of the first Japanese men in outer space requested to wear that damn helmet. Okay, that one, Shar Asnaval's helmet in outer space. So, sir, culture. I got culture. You.
So remember that, and we'll compare it to what I'm going to talk about, and I'll explain why it's a little lacking for cultural significance. Let's put it that way.
Sir.
Don't worry, I know mine isn't culturally significant at all. So
Mine shaped a nation, sir. Sir, shaped a nation. Okay,
Shaped which nation?
Japan.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean they do have an actual 80-foot Gundam statue in Japan.
And as soon as we get
They
Minovsky
have
particles, we'll be good.
They have a huge statue of Godzilla too, I'm sure. But
Like I said, we get Minovsky particles, bring you Gundams, you know. So.
Oh my god!
But right now, it's like, you know, it was like
do science. I like the idea of playing with science. That's one of the things with science fiction I always liked is it was science based, but they did a twist on it that wasn't technically probably possible, but it's close enough that you can believe it kind of developed from actual science.
Ooh, just wait till we get to
Hard
Steins
science
Gate.
is really
Just
good.
wait till we get to Steins Gate. Oh.
It's like
it's
a hard science. So there's different types of science fiction. There's a light science fiction and hard science fiction, and hard science fiction is really deep, hard technical science, right? But we'll get into that with Isaac Asimov and Steins Gate, I'm sure. So,
Well, yeah.
but it's nice to see, you know, especially how as long ago as this was probably put together, to have that, you know, idea of developing another version of hydrogen on top of and all the effects of it, and to think it out, plan it, and have consequences for it, so it doesn't shift as you're going through the story to just kind of fit the narrative, and then it doesn't, you know, fit the original. Right? So as long as it's based like that, that's always good.
And they talk about this with like some of the radiation happened, and then the I don't want to like jump into the other, like there's some other Gundam things where they take that Minovsky particle thing and they take a different turn on it. Like, what if the particles hurt people? You know, there's a different alternate reality where that happens. Like, it's not clean, it hurts. You know, so you know, it does other things. So going into the trash category.
I mean, sure. So, the first one I'm talking about is Konosuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world. Before I can actually explain why I enjoy this series, I have to explain the genre it's a part of. So, technically, Konosuba is what is known as an isekai in Japan, or otherworld or another world. So, it kind of takes the ideas of like a normal human being going into a fantasy realm. Stuff like Alice in Wonderland and such of this. It's this is more of the Eastern, the more English versions of things that inspired the isekai genre.
So, like, you know, anything like if they travel another world, so
yes,
it becomes an isekai.
Technically, the term isekai is another world. So if they do something that takes them to a different world of some sort, it's considered an isekai.
Is Mortal Kombat an isekai?
Yes, because they go to Outworld. So yes. So any example of you can think of a person going from one world to another world is technically an isekai. Yeah.
Is Inception an isekai?
Depends. It depends on what your definition of another world is.
It's the thing too, is if it's just going from one world to another, that's most of all science fiction, right? I mean, it's kind of hard to say that all of that is. I would think that it's more going from a dimension or a reality that you're used to an alternate reality or something like that, right?
Something that's different than your own.
Right. Like Magic Kingdom for Sale, which is a series of books where somebody answered an ad, bought a Magic Kingdom, and then all of a sudden he's in this fantasy world where he's got magic and
Right.
everything else. Where
Yeah, that's an isekai.
Okay.
The next one.
All right.
I have no control here.
Yep.
So, in the anime realm, these are some of for anime they divide isekai into where they're going and how they get there. So there are digital worlds, like they go into a video game and inhabit a video game, like Sword Art Online, where the people go into a virtual reality game and they're trapped in the game, so they have to live it through the dynamics of what's in the game. Then you have stuff that is they choose to go there, like Inuyasha, where the main character goes through a well and ends up in basically feudal fantasy Japan instead of the normal modern day Japan. And sometimes it's by choice, or they just get whisked there, or they die and get reincarnated as there, like Mushoku Tensei at the end. Is you die and get reincarnated into this whole new world of things. So you go to the next one.
Which would put a damper on dying. Like, crap.
Right. Like you die and you get reborn. But the thing is that you go to the next one. For a lot of the Japanese, a lot of the anime isekai, there are a lot of tropes that go along with what happens. So like you die and you get reborn and you end up becoming super powerful and like a main character, like this first one in the bottom corner with the little girl who is a overpowered being blessed by God. And they're the main driving factors of the conflict of the world. Or sometimes you're the villain, which is the next one. Or you have a party of people that follow you and are massively powerful, just as powerful as you are, like the time I was reincarnated as a slime. Other times it's just you take mundane human everyday things and turn it into profit or something that they didn't have before. Like Drugstore in Another World is a guy who is a pharmacist and knows medicine, so he opens a pharmacy in a fantasy world that doesn't have it. So he makes basically magic penicillin for people who are sick, and then they take penicillin and it fixes an entire issue of the world. Yeah. Or or a lot of times they end up coming in with something from our modern world and into this fantasy world that doesn't have it. So like Another World with My Smartphone is a guy who gets who gets sent to another world with a smartphone that has internet access and can pull up anything that he needs to look up because God willed it to be.
Okay.
Or the character has abilities that other characters can't have, like Kirito there, the dude with the two swords, and that in that digital world, only one person has the ability to use two swords, and it's him, the main character. So isekai usually has a lot of these very similar tropes from anime to anime. Usually there's a lot of the main character ends up getting a bunch of love interests because it's usually a young male fantasy. So all the girls they meet end up falling in love with them in some way, shape, or form. The reason I bring all this up is because Konosuba is a massive satire on the premise. And the best way to embody that is the main character, Kazuma. Kazuma dies and gets reincarnated to a new world. And the way he dies is that he pushes a girl out of the way of getting hit by a truck. But he gets told by the goddess who's resurrecting him that it wasn't a truck, it was a tractor that stopped. And he died from shock because he thought he got hit by a truck. And he pissed his pants, and the paramedics laughed at him, and the doctors doing surgery to try to save his life laughed at him, and his family laughed at him because he died in such a pathetic way. And then when he gets reincarnated into this new world, he doesn't have all this crazy fantasy powerful things. And the one thing he brought with him, the goddess that was being a dick to him, really doesn't do anything. She sucks. Because they kind of go with the traditional like D&D stats of like strength, intelligence, charisma, and such. And the goddess has below average intelligence and the lowest luck that anybody's ever seen.
Mm.
So this powerful goddess that he thought would help him doesn't do anything, so he's poor for most of the series. But he's actually, since in Japan, he was a shut-in who didn't go to school, who stayed at home and played video games. He's a garbage person. So he ends up learning when he's learning abilities from people, so that way he can survive in this world, he gets the ability of steal. And the thing he ends up stealing is panties. And celebrates it by waving around in the air and then forcing the girl to pay double for what she took from him for her own panties back. To the point where all the characters in the world refer to him as Kazu trash because he's a terrible person.
Goddamn Kazu trash.
Mind you, this is all comedy because it's fantastic. And he ends up with a party like most of the other worlds do. And his party is also terrible. Because his party has, on paper, are really good and have really good concepts, but in execution, they're awful. As stated before, he has Aqua, the goddess, who sucks. She has all these skill points that she uses on party tricks instead of actually getting better. He has a really powerful archmage who only spends all their points into explosion and doesn't get any more mana, so they can only use explosion once and then they pass out and are completely incapable of doing anything. And then he has a crusader, or like a paladin, named Darkness, who can't hit a stationary target, but is also a masochist, so she's okay with tanking things.
Mm.
So she literally gets in the way of people fighting, so that way she can get hurt. Because it's what she really enjoys. Yeah, right. I was like, what the fuck? So this series is, yeah, it's based. It's exactly that. It's as kinky as you think it is, and she does exactly. She acts exactly as you think she would. This show is pure comedy. It is entertaining. It plays on these tropes of satire of all these isekai tropes and turns them into something that is much more than the sum of its parts, where you have a character who is trash, and it's not as stereotypical of, oh, this main character is going to be the best, most powerful character, when every other person looks down on him like he's nothing. So the reason I picked Konosuba is that this series got me and a bunch of other people, Harry included, back into watching anime. After college, life stuff happened for me, so I ended up moving, starting a new job, like having a girlfriend, life stuff. So I basically stopped watching most anime, and then I kept seeing memes and jokes and gifs about, Aqua being useless, because it's all over the internet that she's useless, and Darkness being a masochist, and Kazuma being trash, and his terrible resurrection story. All those things, I kept seeing it over and over again, and I was like, all right, I just have to go see what this is. because I've seen enough of it. It looks funny, so I'm gonna go out of my way to go find it. And I end up telling Harry and Ascalgia that I was going to watch this series. And Ascalgia decided that, you know what, I'm going to watch this series too. And thus has led to a massive rabbit hole of sadness for everybody involved. It's because Ascalgia had stopped watching anime, and me saying that I was going to pushed him into also restarting watching it as well. And through me watching these animes, I've found a lot of series that I thoroughly enjoy, that have affected me emotionally, that helped me with my own personal like writing talent and stuff like that. And if it wasn't for me going out of my way to look at this ridiculous series about a character who is literally scum, that I wouldn't have found a lot of these series. I wouldn't have nearly as much to talk about with people like Ascalgia, and it actually deepened like the bond of friendship with us because we were able to talk about a lot of different series and finding out like, oh, you've watched this, I've watched this, or hey, I like this, do you want to try this one out? And it's to the point where Ascalgia made a spreadsheet of all the anime that we have watched as friends and friend groups, and we're approaching 500 animes on this list. It is quite concerning.
Yep, you guys are sick.
Yes. But
2 times if we need to send help.
No, it's okay. I choose to be miserable. It's fine.
Okay, all right.
But this silly comedy series really like brought me back into the anime world and allowed me to look at a lot of different series. And it also, the comedy in it is just on point sometimes. There's sometimes where there's this moments that is just so perfect that it's hard to put into words. The main character is such scum that there's a villainess with massive breasts that he willingly submits to because she puts him between them. And turns on his party that he's been working with for like over a year at this point because he felt like they didn't respect him. And he would rather date this woman.
It's Kazu trash. Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
He is a trash person.
Yeah. You're right. I have seen this anime. I've watched his anime, and yes, he is a terrible person. Okay. It's awful. And yes, this did kind of like help jumpstart me getting back into watching anime again because I think I got burnt out on the whole high school slice of life animes that just get churned out there for a second. It was just like everything was in high school. Everything was high school. Like I was like, okay, I get it. I'm not in high school. It's hard for me to relate to like it's got to be a really good high school anime to get me to go like want to watch it. Like Chinibyo and other than like that one gets to me, but everything else is like, oh, it's high school. I'm so far removed from high school. Like I think after like now it's I'm almost at my 20 years of being out of high school. So it's like it's So, I'm not like Ryan Holt where like high school was invented when he went to high school. He just made it. Was showing people like we should do this thing. It's called high school. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, it is. It's just a good series. It's a good comedy series for people that are just, if you want something to just laugh at, it's short. It's only 20 episodes with a movie, and it's all on Crunchyroll. That's available to watch if you want to watch it. And the main character is an advocate for true gender equality because he will drop kick a woman just as much as he would drop kick a man.
See, Reinhold, that's a small, easy series for you to pick up and watch real quick.
Progressive concept right there, right?
Yeah. So Reinhold,
forward thinking.
You gonna pick up some
I was
comedy?
going to ask about the comedy a little bit. What
Yep.
kind of comedy? You say it's a different type of comedy. What kind of comedy is it though? Is it like, so you have like a dry humor for like the British Blackadder, that sort of
Right.
thing?
It's
Americans more slapsticky. Is this more just
it.
sex
There's
related or?
there's a lot of different versions. There's a lot of slapstick. There's a lot of like lewd comedy because one of the characters is legitimately a masochist that likes when the main character cuts her off and doesn't let her talk,
Mhm.
and she basically just starts quivering on the spot. So there's some lewd comedy, there's some slapstick comedy, especially since one of the characters literally becomes immobilized whenever she does her abilities. But then there's plenty of moments where there's a moment when that character Megumin who basically gets paralyzed, uses her ability and is inside of a mouth of a giant frog, and he's like, "Yeah, don't worry about me. I'm fine. It's actually really warm in here. It won't eat me because it's because of the angle. So you can go take care of the other ones." And then as he's going to take care of them, she just starts yelling. He goes, yeah, I think it's digesting me now. So I would appreciate if you help me before I die. I would really appreciate that."
Yeah, good old Konosuba. Yeah, this review is going to be different because I can actually watch this anime, so like I kind of like could talk.
Plenty of
about
dry
it too.
humor. There's plenty of dry humor. There's plenty of moments where it's overly lewd without showing any nudity or anything, because the main character steals character's panties. But he also gets his comeuppance where people treat him like shit because he's an asshole.
Yeah. It is neat because it also has like that sitcom like where it doesn't really reset like a sitcom because the thank goodness it doesn't because like the show would be completely boring if it just reset all the freaking
Right.
time. Like it builds upon itself, like getting things but that recurring theme of they may have won the day, but at the end of the day they're gonna be poor again or they're gonna mess something up. They've messed something up.
Yeah, it's
Very
fantastic. Yeah. There's still continuity. Things do change.
Yeah.
Like you meet a bunch of different other characters. There is a wizard you meet who runs a item shop, but the harder she works, the more broke she becomes. It's just her curse.
Yep.
So no matter how hard she works, she will slowly but surely become more and more poor.
Yep. It's kind of like if you enjoyed It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, you're going to enjoy Konosuba.
Yeah.
If you like anime,
Kazuma is kind of Dennis. He really is Dennis.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah. So if you enjoy that type of humor, yeah, you'll enjoy Konosuba. So Ryan will pick it up Konosuba or Mobile Suit Gundam. One, 2 episodes.
I will consider it, but
That's fair.
Which one?
I don't know. It depends on what I'm in the mood for at the time, I guess.
All right. Okay, that's fine. That
sounds like two different types of
totally different genres, totally different feels. One is science fantasy,
I'm not gonna lie,
grounded murder porn, and the other one is high fantasy, terrible people doing terrible things.
Yeah, mine comes with 50 episodes, and which is the beginning of a genre or series. And if you really want to find out what the hell happened, you got to keep watching. But I recommend watching Konosuba if you're gonna watch. Even though, unless you're into the, you know what, I can watch a bunch of Gundam. Yeah, because even when you get to the end, it was like, cool, that didn't solve any of my questions. I have questions. What the just happened? Got to watch another one. All right. I have more questions. Cool. We got another one for you, But yeah.
And mine is self-contained, you see.
Yeah.
The characters are just always shit people.
Yeah. It does and the Mobile Suit Gundam does have that sad point, like where you meet this lady, she's amazing in the series. Yeah, she's always helping out Amara. All the guys freaking love her. And Hold on.
I'll find her.
Anyway, so this and people love her, and she risks her life and dies saving the crew. And they get past, everyone's sad, and they make it past this point, and they get to the Earth Federation's Earth base. So they're finally somewhere safe. You are safe. You're the headquarters of the Earth Federation forces. You're safe. And they get there, and they find out the lady who risked her life and died saving them and getting them there, the guy who's running the docks, everything like that. I forget his rank, but that guy there, they were apparently supposed to get married once she arrived there with White Base, and all of them was going to be in the wedding. They had this entire thing planned out. They didn't tell anybody. And you're dealing with that thing like that. And when they go to leave, they're being attacked, and the guy's like, listen, any scratch on White Base, I think it is a personal attack, against my should be wife. We're going to keep, we're going to protect her. It's like just pulling at your heartstrings the entire freaking time. Okay. All right. And then they introduce characters, and then you watch them grow up in the other parts of the series. It's great, like some of the kids that are on the base, and Kai Shida, one of the guys on there. You actually see him in a different thing, and he pops up and goes like, and one of them, it goes Kai, like, I've got a guy that can help you out, but he really hates Xeon. It's like, what? Why does he hate Xeon? Well, he fought a lot of it when he was a teenager, so he really hates you guys. All right, I'll take the spoiler banner down. Which, it doesn't come with alarm. I should probably get some alarm sounds for it, right?
Let the audio listeners know.
That's true. If you're listening to the audio podcast, we've probably done a terrible job of this first one of telling people that we have images and slides from the live show. So that's
not all of us.
Reinhold's fault for not describing. It was his job to describe the slides for the audio podcast. So Reinhold slipping. So
it's my
yeah. So if
elderly
you are
brain.
if you are mad, address all hate mail to Reinhold at wearelibertarians.com. That is Reinhold at wearelibertarians.com.
Interesting to see anything in that mailbox.
All hate mail.
I'll take hate mail at this point. Just post indifference.
Do you actually have that is that your wall, like a email box though? I feel bad if you actually have that mailbox.
I think I do. I don't think that's set up.
No.
Probably not. Should be able to get me at like anything at reinhold.org or something like that.
Who knows? Yeah, mine's like all forwards to like my other email. So yeah, it's great. It's easy to get, but Sprangle messed something up, so I can't like email out of it. So you can email me, but I can't email you back. Well, I can, but it's going to come from a different email box. So trust me, it's me. Actually, don't trust me. Verify the PGP encryption key that's in the signature, and you'll be fine. All right. So if you have sat this far, this long tooth in the episode, then we got a small treat for you. It's called Reinhold. So Reinhold, what do you from the depths of the basement, the second basement of the Wheel Libertarian Studios? What are you bringing out?
Dark basement. The first of all, I have to apologize because I didn't put together pretty slides to show to the people who are watching this on YouTube or Twitch, or else you may find streaming services being pushed out. Mm-hmm. But for the audio people, I will be able to do a better job of just explaining it, I think. So we'll see how that goes. But what I have is someone who is very influential to me throughout my life and kind of made me who I am. And formed who I am. Him, another person, and my father, my parents, or that's the core of my being. So this is the first person that we're going to talk about. His name is Harry Chapin. I don't know how many people have heard of him. Most people have heard of one of his songs because it was very, very popular. It was called "Cats in the Cradle." and that song is a song of his, but it's not his. I think his best. It is kind of poignant, and that's what people liked about it. But the funny thing was is that all of his songs were that way. All of his songs had a message that wasn't your typical message, but it was something that grabbed you. It's something that opened up your view into other people's lives that may be different than what you're used to growing up with. Um, you know, people who have really hard times, people who have really desperate times, that sort of thing. And most of the songs were kind of tragic in a way, but they were also very hopeful in the fact that people were um, finding things within the stories, right? So he started out wanting to be a pilot. So he went to the Air Force. He kind of flunked out of that. He always grew up with music. He learned to play trumpet when he was younger and switched to guitar when he was older. Him and his brothers used to have a band that they played at the church, and they even got a record done. And then he went off to make some movies. He was nominated for an Oscar for one of his documentaries. And then he kind of came back to town, found out that his brothers had kicked him out of the band, and he put together his own thing and decided to open up for him. And kind of the rest is history from there. He just started taking over the shows. He just started being the highlight of what people were going to. One of his first hits was Taxi, which I don't know how many people might have heard that song, but it's about a guy who's 10 years out of high school, is driving a taxi. He's kind of bumping around in life. He hasn't figured out what he wants to do yet. And he picks up a fare and turns out to be his old high school girlfriend. She's going to some rich dude's house that she lives at now. So she's married into wealth. But she's not happy. Right. Mm-hmm. And she kind of condescends him at the end of the song. You know, they talk about how he kind of went through life, and now she was supposed to go off and be an actress, and he was going to learn how to fly because he was going to be a pilot. And he figured that she was, you know, acting like she's happy, and he's flying when he's, you know, driving his taxi and smoking pot. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of he tells stories like a lot of people when Billy Joel's Piano Man came out, right? Mm-hmm. That's a story song. That's, you know, what we call this a story song. Everybody thought that was a Harry Chapin song because Harry Chapin was the king of making story songs, right? His stories were like and I've watched some people recently because there's a lot of reactors out there listening to music now, reacting to old music. Mm-hmm. And every once in a while, someone will stumble on a Harry Chapin song and listen to it. And they all say the same thing, is that when you listen to the song, you can see everything he's talking about, like a movie being played out in your head. And that's talent. That's incredible writing. It's performing is very good. He's very good in concert. And beyond that, though, his stories, like I said, were more touching on themes of tragedy and hope and despair, and all that's kind of tied together again. And it left you leaving like you had read a novel that mm-hmm. was really impactful to you, only you got it in 10 minutes. Now he wasn't as popular. I mean, like at one point he was the highest paid musician on a record deal in the 70s because of the bidding war that took place to get him on the records. So he was very popular, but he never made like really big popular success because radios couldn't play a lot of his songs because they were well over 4 minutes long. Right. He had a 7 or 8 minute song. People aren't playing that, you know, not, you know, very often. So a lot of top 40 stuff, you just didn't hear that. So that's one of the reasons that Cats to Cradle was popular, because it was actually like 3.5 minutes long. It wasn't that it could get played. Right.
Yeah, which has to be like one of the few like songs like I actually do remember of hearing it. Like when you say Harry Chapin, that's the one song I do think about. But like when you talk about the themes of the other songs, like okay, I think I've heard that one before.
Taxi, you might have heard before. That was another big popular song hit. So those are the two big hits. He had another one called WLD, which was about a disc jockey who was finally figuring out he needed to settle down because he as a disc jockey kind of left around town. So he's trying to reconnect with his old wife and his kid who has his kids and everything. And he's trying to say, hey, you're right. I need to settle down. We'll start open that record store. My voice is going. The kids are laughing at me because I'm too old to be a disc jockey at the dance hops and everything like that. And she basically says, yeah, but I've found somebody else who really cares about me and I'm going to stay there now. So just kind of pushes him aside. He kind of missed his window, as it were. So that's another story of his. He's got a song called Sniper, which is really powerful. It's a real long one, but it's real powerful because it's about an actual guy who went to a clock tower and killed people.
Oof.
And it's sung from his point of view, kind of trying to examine what drove him to do that. And it's very, very powerful songs. But they're also fun to listen to. He did a Cabbage Patch gospel once, where he wrote basically a play with little animals playing the parts of sort of biblical stories and things like that. But one of the songs he had was called I Wonder What Would Happen to This World. And basically the lines behind it was, if a man tried and spent his time on earth to prove before he died what one man's life could be worth, I wonder what would happen to this world. Right. So that's kind of the process of the song. It's trying to say, okay, try to think more than just your little life. Try to do more, try to be more, try to impact the world in some way. And that's kind of what he did, because in the middle of all of this that he's doing with all these, and he was a force of nature where he would just go and go and go, because he was born with asthma and he figured he wasn't going to live very long. So he's trying to do as much as he can and cram it in as best he could. Right. So on top of doing all the performing he was doing and writing he was doing, he would do like 300 songs a year, 250, 300 songs a year, or albums or concerts. Sorry. He'd do that many concerts a year. Half of them would be for free. The money would go to charity for half of the ones he did. He ended up talking to a reverend of some sort about Bill Evers. They were talking about the problems with hunger in the world and people going to bed hungry, and it bothered him so much. They started a group called World Hunger Year, which to this day is still a big charity that goes out and tries to solve hunger problems. Right. He would constantly do concerts, try and get other musicians to join him in doing what he was doing, going out there and trying to do stuff for charity, do stuff for other people, starving people, that sort of thing. And not long after he passed away, We Are the World came out, which was basically a direct result of the work he was doing with World Hunger Year. Ended up developing into that, because after his death, everybody kind of was like, yeah, you were right, we should have done more. And they kind of got together and did that. That's what kind of started that whole thing. So he was kind of like the first musician who was out there really trying to do those types of things. He's raised millions and millions of dollars for World Hunger. He got a Congressional Gold Medal of Honor after his passing, which was the first musician to get that since the 20s, I think, for all his work. So good. He got it posthumously.
So he's like actually trying to do it, not sitting on like TikTok or Instagram.
No, he was like,
look at me helping.
No, he was like, I had to put my money where my mouth is. He's like, so when he would do the half of his shows for free, he said, I would do one show for me and I'd do one show for the other guy. That was his kind of thought process, right? So he was always trying to push this idea of empathy out to everybody, and thinking about how other people's lives may not be like yours, but it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they have different experiences, and try to understand them through that. And how he's got one song called Everybody's Lonely, which is basically his thought process at the time was, everybody goes through life lonely and they're just looking for connection. They're looking for other people. They're looking for that feeling of interconnectedness with someone, love and caring. So that's kind of the driving force behind human nature in his mind. So um he's got as far as the catalog of songs he has, there's probably 50 or 60 that are just wonderful. If you get, there's one called What Made America Famous, and it's a story about how the hippies in town and the suits in town were always clashing with each other, and you know, they used to paint swastikas on the firehouse station door, you know, that sort of thing. And then there was a fire in the building that they lived, that the hippies were living in, and the fire department had to come out and save them, you know. But of course, they were like, you know, just, you know, let them sweat a bit. You know, they'll never know we didn't get there, rush there, right? But in this one scene, though, he gets rescued by one of the firemen, and he's spent the night in that guy's house, and he makes this comment in the song. It says, "When you get that close, it's kind of hard to hate." Right. Once you get to understand somebody and be with them and see them as another human being sitting right next to you, it's really hard to just hate that person. So that's kind of the thoughts and feelings that I get from his music and his work and all the tireless effort he did to put his money where his mouth is.
And trying to get that message out there, like, you know, like, don't sit in your ivory tower, go out there with these people, you know, be out there and do things.
One of his later albums was called Dance Band on the Titanic, and he had come to this realization that he felt like he was on the, you know, screaming, "Hey, there's an iceberg coming," and nobody is doing anything about it. Like what society is going through is the Titanic getting towards the iceberg. And he's trying to say, "Come on, do something. You got to turn it." And nobody's listening to him. And on that album, there's two great songs. One's called "Dance Band on the Titanic," which is a really wonderful song about the people playing the music on the Titanic as it's going down. You know, it's kind of their story. But he also has on there a very long song that's probably like 15 minutes long, but it's essentially his autobiography. His story, when he grew up and what he was doing to all the way through to now he's looking at his kid and trying to pass on, you know, what he knows and what his knowledge is to his kid, so his kid can go fight the fight that he was fighting when he's gone. So there's a great line in there about I'm almost 33. The age that Mozart died. And Jesus was set free. I'm soon curious about the tragedy that'll soon be falling me. Right, he's thinking about midlife, and you know, he's not young anymore. And then he says, "Today I just had my birthday. I made it 34. Mere mortal, not immortal, not star-crossed anymore. I've got this problem with my aging. I can no longer can't ignore. A tame and toothless tabby can't produce a lion's roar." Right? So he's really examining his life and what he's going through at that time in that song. So if you ever want to know kind of what he's thinking about and what his story is, I would suggest going to that one. So
yeah. And so what's the name of that song again?
That name of that song was "There's Only One Choice."
Okay. That's
a bunch of great songs. I mean, like if you want to really get to know, check out there's two good albums that you can check. First one is Greatest Stories Live, which was actually filmed and recorded like halfway through his career. So it's not got some of the later hits and stuff like that, but it's a good representation of what he's like in on live, you know, doing songs live. And then there's another one called the Gold Medal Collection, which was put out after his passing, and after he got the gold medal awarded to him, they commemorated it with this album. It's a double CD. You know, it's probably got like 40 songs on it. So, and they're all good. So you can just listen to that. And it's also got intersections in there with a couple different like interviews where he's talking about how he sees the difference between good tired and bad tired. His grandfather, who was a painter, taught him this lesson when he was younger, saying, you know, there's good tired, bad tired. Bad tired is a day that you won, but you won other people's dreams, you won other people's battles, and you just don't feel comfortable at night. And a good day could be a day that you lost, but you lost your dreams and your battles and what you were fighting for, right? And he says, grandfather said, I wish I'd have been a better painter. But he said, but I fought my battles, and I'm good tired, and I'm ready to go. And he says, if there's a way that you can go through life and approach that wall of death that everybody is scared of with that degree of hope and equanimity, then he wanted that. So that's he got that lesson when he was really young. So those, like I said, those are the concepts and thoughts that go through that music that really inspired me a lot. And I first heard him when I was probably 7th grade, 8th grade, high school.
Okay.
So it's really informed me a lot through my whole life. So.
Yeah, because that's what I was curious. Like, how did you like pick this up? Because, like, you know, you've got the internet. I get on YouTube or because
you know, it's
like,
a great story actually. So you know, a lot of people had heard Cats in the Cradle, right? So I was in a class, and my teacher was named Mr. Curran, who passed away when he was in his 30s, unfortunately. But he was talking one day, and he was just kind of going through different life lessons and stuff like that in his class. And he mentioned, there was this guy named Harry Chapin who sang Cats in the Cradle. You might have heard that. And I was like, yeah, I've heard that song. It's a really good song. He says, and he's got his other song, and he talks about some of his other songs, kind of like what I'm doing here. But one of the songs he pointed out was called 30,000 Pounds of Bananas, which is an interesting story. A lot of his stories were based off true stories. So there's a story about a guy who was driving a semi-truck down a hill in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and his brakes went out, right? And he just dies at the end of this crash because of the going down the hill and everything. And he was hauling bananas, so there's a punchline about mashed bananas at the end of the song. But it's a great sing-along song that he does live in concert that gets everybody hyped, just because of the way it picks up and builds, and as you're going down the hill, he's going down the hill kind of nice and calm, and then he's getting faster, and he can't control it, and he's missing buses, and it becomes this powerful song. Then he ends it with the fact that he had 3 different endings for the song, and his brothers who he sang the song to all told him it sucked. Right, so he had to go to the next one and said it was like, Harry, it sucks. Became such a saying that he was selling T-shirts. Harry, it sucks T-shirts, right? So
this sucks.
It's funny. Then he ended up adding a fourth ending, and I think there's a 5th ending before he passed. He put together a 5th ending to put on there. And they're all funny, and it's a tragic story, but he somehow mines comedy gold out of it.
Yeah, and that person is Joe Biden. Oh, sorry, you said Scranton, Pennsylvania. So like Joe Biden.
He was actually got sued by the widow and agreed to never to drop the lawsuit if he'd never sang the song in Pennsylvania.
Wow, the widow sued him for singing the song.
The widow was not happy.
I mean,
and the one he did about the sniper, I think the sniper's mother was not happy because he admitted that it was her neglect that caused it. So he ended up having a little bit of a problem with that too.
Probably, I could see that.
He had a song called Bummer, which is about a guy who basically grew up the product of a pimp and his prostitute, and he'd get beat when he was a kid, and he was selling drugs when he was 15 years old, and he ended up going to jail a lot. And then just before he ends up going to jail big time, he gets drafted into Vietnam. While he's in Vietnam, he ends up saving a whole battalion of people, and to the point where he should have been dead. He was so destroyed. But they put it back together, and he lived, and they give him a nice award, Medal of Honor and everything. So he ended up going back to society and couldn't fit in because that was really the only thing he was made for.
Mhm.
And he ended up having to drifting back into the crime scene and ended up dying in a robbery attempt. The end of the story is very, very different than the real life version of the story, but it is based off real life. So there's a lot of his stories are based off real events, either that happened to him,
Mhm.
people he knew, or news in the story. Another great one would be Mr. Tanner, which is a song about a guy who used to be a cleaner at some town in the Midwest. So what he had done is he saw a review in one of the New York, magazines or newspapers, whatever, where they basically reviewed this guy's singing of some operatic songs, and they were just brutal in what they said. And he did it in like 5 lines. It was just like such a cut down on what they said. He wrote a song about it. So he imagined the guy was this cleaner who had just saved up all his money, and everybody was telling him how great he was. He should go try and do it full time. So he takes the plunge. He does it. He goes out there and he gets those reviews and gets destroyed. And he ends up going back and never singing again. Except he would still sing when nobody was around. So singing was what his life was, is not what his livelihood was the story of that. Right. So it's a thing of hope. And what's funny is about 5 or 6 years ago, the one of the guys in the band let loose who the person was that was written about.
Mhm.
And people started contacting him and saying, "Hey, are you this guy? You're this Mr. Tanner guy." And the guy was like, "What are you talking about? I don't know who you are. Leave me alone." Because he'd never heard of Harry Chapin before. So he didn't know this song was out here about him. And then he heard the song and he was kind of upset about it because this is a terrible thing that happened in his life. Now, he still continued singing. He wasn't like in the story where he quit singing. Right. He still did. He still had some success. And he does some things like that. He's even got a website now. But but he ended up thinking more about it and talking to the Harry's brothers that were still doing the band stuff. And they got him to do for charity to go on stage and sing the basically his version, his portion of the song that Big John Wallace used to sing, to, over the top of the actual song being played. It was just incredible to see the person who it was written about getting up there and singing that. It was just emotional. It's because that was a big song growing up for me. So, but I don't know. I could go on for another hour, so we probably should kind of stop me here soon. Stop me before I kill again here.
No, it was just like it's all right. So this whole concept of doing something like this is just what I like. It's because people like hear yours political takes on different things, but like they're like, what? I like this like humanistic aspect of like this is the media that I digest and like see help put lenses on how I digest the world, and I enjoyed hearing this from you because like you're right, but like when it comes to Harry Chapin music, I will probably only ever listen to Cats in the Cradle because I know this one, I know that song, and I listen to that one regularly, and it keeps reminding me to like to go play with my daughter instead of put my work down and go play with her, like no.
You should also listen to Tangled Up Puppet. It's especially about a man and his daughter growing up through kind of through puberty into adulthood type thing where she starts to pull away from him and is not like daddy's girl anymore, and how he has to deal with that. Tangled Up Puppet, very beautiful song. Song for everything. I'm telling you this. I can tell you
tomorrow, Harry, like before you guys' before the Spangle show tomorrow, Harry just shows up weeping. Listen to that song. I hated that I did.
What did you do to me, Reinhold? Look, what did you do to me? What did you do to me?
I tell you, every time I ever felt depressed or sad or anything like that, I would put on Harry Chapin music, and it would ironically make me feel better. And I don't know if I can explain why. Other than the fact that I'm hearing stories about other people who are depressed and having issues and dealing with things. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. This isn't just me that's having to deal with this. Everybody has to deal with this. and I'd get a little hope out of it. I'd get a feeling like I can do this.
Yeah, well, we all have to deal with things, and so it comes,
It's that idea of everybody's lonely, that
yeah.
is what drives everybody.
Yeah. Let's see. Rascal Plus says, "This is why I watch cute anime with cute things happening. No more tears." And that's me you're hearing about. You're welcome for the hope. Oh, thanks.
Oh my
thanks.
God.
No, you don't. Some of the people who are in these stories are way worse off than you are. Trust me. I mean, the bummer guy, the sniper, the guy, 30,000 pounds of bananas guy. I mean, I think those guys probably had a little bit worse. The guy who has a one-night stand with a beautiful woman and ends up destroying his life over it because he can't deal with the fact that she left and he had the one thing he had.
You faded into oblivion.
Yeah. Wind up your mic.
I'm starting to kind of
Yeah.
All right. Wind your mic up.
I'll be a little louder. Get a little closer to the mic again.
I said wind. You probably have to wind it back up.
But it's there's just a lot of stories of people like there's a song about called Corey's Coming, where it's about a guy who basically invents a woman that he's because he's so lonely, he invents this woman who comes and meets him, and he's telling this kid about all this great times he had with her, and then he talks to the other people about him, and they're like, oh yeah, no one named Corey ever lived here, it's all a lie, he's invented her and everything like that. And then he finds out that he passes away, and at the funeral he's sitting there and a woman comes up to him and starts talking to him and says her name is Corey. And he ends up falling for her, and it's an interesting story. It's a great song. The melody is great. So, and it is folk music. A lot of people may not like folk music, but I think that it's more of a story music. Like you feel like you're watching a movie when you listen to these songs.
God damn nostalgia.
Nostalgia wants to know, so inventive woman, so a waifu?
Well, I don't know if he invents her or if she's actually there, but nobody knows it because the way the story ends, you don't know.
That's fair.
They leave it open to interpretation.
Nice. Okay. All right. That's not bad. Fine. Yeah. I'll take it like that. Wow. So yeah.
Really interesting to hear. I had no idea. I basically had no idea he existed. So.
Wow. Wow, this young generation.
Different generation entirely, yeah.
No, that's one of the things I like about what's going on right now on YouTube. There's people doing music reactions, and they're all like young people in their early 20s, 18s, 25, that sort of thing. And they've listened to hip hop and grew up, listening to the music of today and thinking, oh, this is what music is. And they get exposed to music from the 70s and 80s and things like that, and their minds are blown. They start hearing songs like, wait a minute, I've heard this song before. It's been sampled in this other song. I thought that was original, that sort of thing. They start when they first hear like Under Pressure from Queen and they go, that's Ice Ice Baby. What are you talking about?
No, it's not. Don't you know it goes dun 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 dun. That's why you can't sue me.
Oh man, like just watching people like one, Iggy Stardust or like David Bowie, or hearing Freddie Mercury sing live, or hearing like some of the musicals of James freaking Brown, because most people they probably heard like what 2 James Brown songs and doesn't know this man has created several genres of music.
Right.
That's what I like about this is that they listen to a couple songs. They're getting attention for it, so they continue to do it. And then they start down this journey, this rabbit hole that they ended up just going. Their minds just blow, and they just started devouring more and more of it. And it's fun to see their eyes light up. I'm sort of what you would call a magpie, where I love to find something and then show people and say, "Look at this, enjoy it like I did."
Yep.
And it's frustrating because very rarely does that happen, where you can actually say, "Hey, enjoy it like I did," and they do. So when you see a reactor reacting to a song that you grew up with and you care about and you feel about, and you see their eyes kind of reacting the way you did when you first heard it, it's a great feeling for a magpie to see.
I wholeheartedly agree with that concept, because that's basically how this became what it became. Here's like, I want to do this. Like, oh, we're just sharing things. I like to share things. Here, we find these things I want to share with people, and then we can share things because that's what you want, right? And then he was like, I thought it was just me though. It was like, oh, but let's all share though. I want to share this too.
Yeah. I had planned to it was gonna be like this amazing Gundam specials, like 10 of them planned out. It was gonna be great.
10 lies. You know it was 13 at minimum.
Yeah, you're probably lucky that I didn't do my 9 stories about 9 different Harry Chapin songs.
Wow. That's
I kind of wound it up into one section so I can get on to something else for everybody.
Classic Reinhold. So, so we did very good this week. So we did. I should probably get a update each one of those for like
the mark the ones we already did.
Fade them get them faded to grayscale as we do them. So what's next? So all those who this episode it's not super long in the tooth, but if you've gone this far, you're definitely going to watch next week's episode. So what is everyone looking forward for next week?
Well, I need to know what you pick first, Harry.
Wow. Well, I figured I wanted to do most of like Mobile Suit Century, like Universal Century, to get that done out of the way. So I think I'm going to go in the exact same war period, a different type of time. So we're going to go for 8th Mobile Suit Team.
Okay. Just making sure because you know what happens when Initial D happens, and
I'm going to try to.
We're just gonna get a sadness bomb. Wow. Trying to make sure.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because my plan is to do that and then may cut to Rurouni Kenshin. I'm going to try to do Initial D list for that office.
Do his last.
Try to do it last as possible.
That's fair.
Yeah. So 8th Mobile Suit Team. That's my thing.
Okay.
Escalja, they are not all the same. Escalja asks
why are they all the same?
You may be wondering that's why is Vincent's all the same?
Oh my god.
His is all the same. All right, so Vincent, what's what are you doing for next week?
So they're staring at it. Definitely want to go to a different kind of thing. So I guess I'll do the GE good ending, the one in the middle on the top.
Ooh, GE. What the heck is that one?
It's GE good ending. It's a manga. I'll explain it more when we get to it. It's explain it more next week. There's a lot to it. This is more. This next week's going to be one of those. Donovan goes into his emotional state. This is what high school. What high school Vincent was super depressed and needed an outlet for his depression.
All right. Another Harry Chapin song from Vincent. All right, so Reinhold, what are you going to grace us with?
So next week I will probably finish up on the notion of the 2 people besides my parents that informed who I am. The first one was Harry Chapin. The second one is Terry Pratchett. So I imagine we'll just talk about Terry Pratchett, get that out of the way. That way we can start with the base of these 2, me pretty well.
Okay. All right.
You want it to be so? Do you want the title to be specifically about Terry Pratchett or Discworld?
One and the same.
Okay. It'll be about Discworld. Good.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Then.
Well, let me think about that. I would say Terry Pratchett, because that's the most important part. Is his views.
You're
hard to stay too much. I don't want to get into it too deep right now. So
cool.
Let's go with Terry Pratchett.
Okay.
That's fine. Also, Scotch. There are 6 Gundam series, so go F yourself. All right. So now we've so at least we know where everything is going to come up next week. I was really hoping I could let me drag everyone in front of their things, and it won't. I was really hoping I could get them to.
This is close enough.
Yeah, I know. This is really hoping this view would be like, ha, look what I can do. This is great. So We know what everyone's talking about for next week. It's going to be great. So if you enjoy this low key wall talk content, we're going to come back at you. Also, if you did subscribe to this channel, stuff like that, you want more of the Chris Spangle show, well, that'll be tomorrow at noon. So Eastern Standard Time. So look forward to that time. So like if and I'm sure we'll talk more about we'll get more back to the politics that I'm sure everyone else loves. But this was a low key wall episode talking about our media that helped shape us. So I hope you got a better idea of different media that we consume when we're not doing this podcasting. So if like I said, you could be listening to anything else in the world, but you decided to listen to this, and that I will thank you. So have a good evening, everyone. Goodbye. Say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Put that joke away. Just put it away. Just put it down. Just put it down.
Stop. You're not doing phrasing anymore?
All right. Oh, well, okay. All right. It's bedtime for right home.